you know. What's going on, people? It's episode 16 or 17, I think, of Healing with Sam. Been a minute again. Feels like every time I'm making a video lately, I'm saying, oh, it's been a while since I made the last one. I'm all out of practice again. I feel like weird looking at myself on the camera again. It's like, what do I do? What do I say? Where do I put my hands? It's getting all hot and flustered, like. Yeah, funny few weeks. Quite interesting few weeks as well as it pertains to this healing journey. Yeah, it's brought up a lot of questions. I feel like I've actually been questioning a lot these last few weeks. Am I just tripping? Like, am I just tripping? Am I healing myself from this disease, or am I just on like this like wild goose chase that's just gonna lead nowhere but to more geese? Which isn't bad, like, you know, goosing around is not a bad way to spend your time, but yeah, but anytime I do question myself, and it's good, you know, it's important to question, like, you know, and it's not in a kind of like doubt, like self-doubt kind of way, it's just like, I don't know, I think it's healthy to question, like, okay, am I on the right path here? Am I just tripping? Am I just being whatever? But I always have the same answer whenever I ask that question, and I ask that of myself, and I search within myself, am I just tripping, or am I actually healing from this disease? And it's like, no, I'm healing. And I could still be tripping. But yeah, for me, what I feel to be true, know to be true in my heart and in my experience, there's just too many things. The path, the journey is too perfect, the moments that have happened. And I've spoke about this before. It's moments, right? This journey is about moments. There's these highs where everything's just sort of like becomes so clear. These moments of clarity, these moments where you know you're there, you're in that place, you're with God, you're with love, you're there, and you know what is true in those moments. But then life continues, you know, and you get caught up in the just blah, 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 whatever of life and all the doubts and everything that come with it. And it's just like, but I know, you know, I do know. But that's been interesting. So yeah, basically, a funny few weeks. I've been here. I've been here for the last 3 weeks. I've hardly left the house much. This last week I've started to get out and about a bit more, but yeah, so I had the flu, which really fucked me up. And it was funny, it kind of like coalesced with the sort of crescendo of that big sort of process I was going through, which I was speaking to in the last video. I made me think about the whole process that had been set off at the end of that relationship, and then yeah, all the feelings that were coming with that as it related to CF as well, and that healing journey. And it all just sort of like coalesced with this flu, which just probably fucked me up, wiped me out, took me out of commission for like a week. Yeah, I don't know, lots to say about that, but I won't bore you with all that. And then just as I was sort of coming out of the flu, starting to feel a little bit better, starting to emerge from the pit, I got hit with gout. This is something I've had for a couple of years. Just every now and then you get that flare up of gout, usually in the foot, in that big toe. You wake up and you can hardly walk. And usually it's just like that for a day or two, and then it's fine and it's gone, whatever. I don't know what's happened this time, but it got crazy. So basically, woke up on the Monday, I think 2 weeks ago, with that pain in my foot, and I was just like, oh yeah, whatever. And then the next night it was like worse again. Then woke up, and then my ankle and the other foot was really sore as well. And then I had a bath. I don't know how much this played a factor, but this bath fucked me up. Like, as soon as I got out the bath, my ankle, I had the one foot out because I just had a tattoo on that ankle, so I had that foot out. So the original foot that was hurting was fine, and that like sort of felt fine the next day. But then his ankle, my other ankle, which had been in the water, was just like just ballooned up and was fucked. It's like still a little bit swollen now, like 2 weeks later, but it was crazy. Like the first week it was like that. Yeah, so I think that played some sort of factor in it. And then I think it was that evening then I went to bed and just like I started to get tired before I went to bed, and then that night in bed, just my whole body just started hurting. And like I was like aching everywhere and it was like I developed a fever again. And I don't know if it was because I was still like coming round from the flu. Also, apparently, if you have like a severe case of gout, it can do this. It can spread like to other parts of the body, other joints, and then also lead to like feverish symptoms and like, but it just hit my whole body. And then the next day, and then for like days after, just kept getting worse and worse and worse, to the point I could barely walk. Like one night I had to crawl to the toilet because I was just like, just in agony everywhere. I could hardly move, and it like killed all my mobility everywhere as well. So like, it was like you were having all the pain in the joints from the gout, but then also like these feverish symptoms in like my hips and my legs and my shoulders and my neck, and my jaw. Like my jaw was so like, my neck and my shoulders was all just so heavy and aching and sore. And for like a week solid, it was like that. I could hardly move. I was in out of the state. And like, yeah, I don't know. It was interesting. I went, obviously, like, go on an emotional roller coaster with that. Like, at some point, I was just like, oh, this is me. I'm done. Like, this is me now. Because it was weird as well, because it was just like so far beyond what gout is. Usually it's just like in the foot, maybe it'll affect like your wrists or something, but it was just everywhere, like everywhere, all of my joints. And still now, so like after a week, I started taking naproxen, which was crazy. Like in 2 hours after taking that first tablet, I went from hardly being able to move to like, oh, I can move a little bit again. And so that was like a week ago. And this week since then, I've sort of like been moving more and more and more. And now I can kind of move pretty much normally, but all of my joints are still just super like weak and sore. And like when I'm stretching in the morning, even just being in tabletop position, you know, just like my wrists and like my hips is just like, I don't know what's happened. But all my joints seem to have like taken some serious damage, and it's kind of just really slow progress building it all back. Yeah, it's been quite frustrating, obviously. Like, and the thing is as well, I haven't been able to exercise now since before Christmas because I was ill over Christmas, and then my back was bad for like a month, and then all this happened. So it's been like, what, 6-7 weeks since I've been able to exercise, which obviously is not good for the lungs. Like, I don't think I've ever gone that long without exercising before. And obviously, like, getting the flu and everything messed up my chest. Like, it went to my chest after that first week. So like you can hear, I'm kind of like short on breath now as I'm speaking. Like, it's like, yeah. Chest obviously isn't in good condition. I actually did my lung function just before I got the flu, and it was like dropped loads again, back to pretty much where it was when I had to have the IVs a few months ago. So that was a bit like, and then I got hit with the flu, and I was like, oh. Yeah, so I don't even want to know what my lung function is now. Probably not good. I'm going to the hospital in a couple of weeks, and I'm imagining they're going to say they want to give me IVs again. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens with that in a couple of weeks. But yeah, it's been a rough few weeks. And yeah, and it brought up this kind of, there's been lots of different questions that have come up with it. And the one thing has been this idea of rest, taking a break from the emotional work generally in life, but then also as it relates to this healing journey from CF. Because the ancestral, what I believe to be the ancestral emotional root of the disease on my mother's side started opening up once I sort of like finished the process that was to do with the whole thing with that relationship, which I was talking about in the last video. When that sort of came to an end with the flu, it then sort of like opened straight up into kind of like, yeah, what are the emotional ancestral stuff on my mother's side, which is heavy stuff, like, and I actually felt was connected to the gout. There was 2 nights before the gout came on where I woke up in the middle of the night and was just awake for a few hours. And I know whenever that happens, if you get woken up in the night like that, certainly for me it's the case anyway, if I get woken up in the night and can't sleep for hours, it's because there's something there that's ready to come up to be processed. And I could sense it there. I kind of knew what it was. It's a lot of this kind of like really intense anger and rage and kind of like this kind of need to set a boundary, connected to my great-grandmother on my mother's side. And that had started coming up, but I was just like, nah, can't be arsed. It's the middle of the night, don't want to do it. But the thing is, lately, it seems like if an emotion's present and at the surface and ready to be felt, if I don't give myself to that process, it seems to then manifest as physical symptoms, like super quickly, like really quickly. I've been experiencing this a lot lately with different things. And so I think, and I don't know, like, I just don't know anymore about anything. It's like, who knows? But yeah, I felt that it was those 2 nights of like not giving, and two days as well, obviously within that, of not giving myself to that process that was there and ready to start coming up, that led to the gout. And any time then I was sort of like, as the gout came on and I was connecting to the pain with the gout, like it would take me straight into those feelings. And then Grace, shout out Grace, come over one day and she was like, you need to have a break from all these like intense emotions. She was like, I won't be doing that right now. Like, you need to rest. And it was funny because I don't even think of these things as intense anymore. Like, I'm so used to like constantly going through these big emotional processes that I just don't even think of it as being intense. Partly because it isn't intense to me and my system, like a lot of the time now, because I've built such a capacity to hold big emotions that it just doesn't, it doesn't tax my system a lot of the time, or at least consciously anyway. Certainly nowhere near as much as it used to when I first started opening up into these big sort of like emotional processes. I would have these big cathartic releases and it would wipe me out. I was very aware that it was taxing me. But these days it just doesn't really do that much. And I'm not really having those like huge cathartic releases that often either. But but after a few days, I seen her again. It was funny, we had a little bit of a butting heads. And then like we seen each other again a week later and we were talking about it and talking about like the intensity of these different things. And then I woke up the next morning and it was just like a light bulb all of a sudden. I was like, Jesus Christ, it has been intense. Like these last few months, like that whole process that got opened up at the end of that relationship in October was a lot, it was a lot. And lots of other different things during that time as well. Like, and I was just sat there in bed in the morning. I was just like, literally the themes have been death, dying alone, profound abandonment and aloneness and rejection. And then like, ancestral like trauma and the rage and everything connected with that. That's quite intense. Like, that is quite intense. And I was just like, I need a break, because this is the thing, like when you're open to just the emotional realm, when things can just flow freely, they will flow. And so like as soon as one process finishes, it's like it just jumps straight into the next one, which generally, most of the time, I think works for me, particularly as it relates to this healing journey. Like there's a lot that I have to work through and process as part of this journey of moving beyond CF. It's important that I give myself to that, but there are also times where you just need a break. And I think I realised like, fuck yeah, I probably just need a break. These last 3 months have been a lot. It's been heavy. It's been difficult. Perhaps now as well, like what's going on with my body at the minute is telling me, take a break. But then it's interesting because the other part of me is like, well, this all happened. This all started, like everything with the gout, because I didn't feel something that was there. So it's an interesting balance. Like ultimately, I think if something is there at the surface, ready to be felt and processed, it doesn't pay to avoid that and to repress that. But you can also kind of take executive control over what is happening and say, okay, let me just put a lid on that for now. Like let the body know I'm taking a break from that. I don't want to be working through any of that for a little period. And so I told myself that, and yeah, that's kind of how it's played out. Although the last couple of days, funny enough saying that, I have been getting just little waves, just little like 10-second, just like, ooh, of that like anger. But yeah. So I don't know. It's been interesting. It's been a lesson in surrender. Like, literally there, like for a whole week, I could barely move. And I was just, didn't know if it was going to get better or if it was like, because it was also like, I didn't know if it was just sort of transforming, becoming like an autoimmune thing. And I was just like, which also tied in with the whole thing with the anger and the, so I was just like, at one point I was thinking, fuck, this is what my body's going to be like until I process all of this stuff to do with all that with my gran. So yeah, I don't know. My joints are still not in good condition, but getting better every day. Like if I think compared to where I was a week ago, to be fair, much better. And it's just maintaining that positive mindset of just, okay, I'm building myself back. And this is something I really touched on today, was like building myself back with love. Like, you know, because it's so easy to get sort of angry and frustrated. I was feeling this morning because it's just like, I need to exercise, like, you know, and also just generally, not even for like the state of my lungs, but also just, you know, I need to exercise. Like, it always used to be the case. I obviously don't feel this so much these days because I'm much more at peace within myself. But like years ago, if I had just 2 days of not going to the gym, I would be like, oh, you know, just very aware that I hadn't been to the gym for a couple of days. So yeah, it's been a good lesson in surrender. I've had some interesting journeys as well, sort of as it relates to this healing journey of, yeah, starting to really move closer and closer towards letting go of the identity of having CF. I had a big journey last week when I was right in the thick of like, my body was fucked and I was just in pain everywhere and could hardly move. And I was trying to have a little stretch one day just to move a little bit. But it was just, like it wiped me out. Like the whole thing as well, it was crazy. I was just like super exhausted the whole time as well. So I was like 10 minutes just trying to like stretch a little bit, move a little bit. And then I was just like slumped over my bed. And I was just like, God, like I've prayed to God so many times this last few weeks. So I was like, God, please just show me the way, like show me the way through this process. Like, I don't know. And then like a minute later, all of a sudden I just like felt this urge to like stand up and just like, whoa, I was just like stood up in my bedroom and I just spread my arms like this and I just started crying, sobbing, and I was just like, take it all, just take it all. I'm love, I'm ready to be loved. Like, and it was just like, yeah, it's just take it all, as in just like everything connected to this whole manifestation of disease in me, like everything connected to that, and all of these different parts and all of these different things that are holding on to it, all these fears and resistances to letting go of it, and then all of the ancestral stuff and whatever. I was just like sobbing and just like trying to move my legs. So I was just like, take it all, just take it all. And then as I was doing that, like, it was incredible. Like the pain started to ease a little bit and I started to like get some life and energy back in my body a bit, and like I'm literally only lifting my knees, but that feels amazing. I'm just like sobbing. And then like I connected to the image. I don't think I've told the story yet of when I met what, I don't know what he was, but it was like basically the universal aspect of me, higher self, soul, whatever, I don't know what it was, in an ayahuasca journey. I haven't told that story yet. But it was basically just, yeah, I don't know, we'll call him the higher self, the higher Sam, the universal Sam. And I've had some journeys where I connect to this thing, being, aspect of self or whatever, I don't know. And I started connecting to the image of that. And bro, as soon as I did, it was like, he was just like massaging me. And it's like, I just started weeping even harder. And it just felt like this big universal motherfucker is just like, and I just started going like, oh, and he's just like, oh, rubbing me and massaging me and just like trying to take all this pain and rubbing my head. And I was just like weeping like, ah. That was quite a mad one. And then, I just laid down and I was just like, and I felt for the first time ready. I was like, I'm ready to let go of this disease. Like, I'm ready to move beyond this identity. Because it's crazy, right? The identity that I have of having CF, that's the largest part of my identity that I have. I've had that since I was, as long as I can remember, all my life, I have had this identity of, I have this disease. It's killing me. It's this, it's that, whatever. Like, you know, it's not a small task to let go of that and break out of that. It's something that's been unfolding for the last year or so. But usually it's these feelings of, I don't want to, I can't. Like, you know, there's so much fear and resistance to letting go of that. But in that moment was the first time I felt, I'm ready. Like, take it all. I'm ready. Like, I'm ready for that shattering. So that was cool, and that's something that's been unfolding through the whole thing as well. It's a continuation of that journey of becoming more and more ready to sort of, yeah. And that's another sort of story I haven't told yet as part of this larger story that I need to get back to in next week. That was something I experienced actually in that same ayahuasca journey as the universal me. Was I had this huge like rising of kundalini energy start to like come up from my roots, like crazy. It felt like it was going to be like complete obliteration, and it said to me like, we could do it now, we could go beyond CF right now, we could get rid of that now. And I was just like, nah. And that was actually how I first became aware of this resistance I have to letting go of it, which was last November before the one just gone. So yeah, about a year and a bit on from that, I'm getting more and more ready for that. I do feel that that kind of experience, be it Kundalini or something else, is probably going to be a necessary step, perhaps the final step in this journey of moving beyond this disease, of that complete obliteration. Yeah, I don't know, fuck knows, that's what's been happening, that's what I'm thinking about it. I don't know what's going on. I might be tripping. I might just be goosing around. May as well, something to do, innit? Yeah. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all feeling nice and goosey and loosey. A little bit stupidy. Take it easy. See you next week. We'll get back to the story next week. Hopefully, maybe, and hopefully it won't actually be weeks again. Hopefully nothing else strikes me down this week, and next week we can get some momentum building again. Yeah, have a wicked one. Love to you all.